You get a fever today, and you know exactly what to do. Rest, water, maybe medicine, maybe a doctor. Within a few days, in most cases, you're fine. That entire process is a luxury so recent, it barely registers as one. For most of human history, getting sick wasn't a minor inconvenience. It was one of the biggest, most unpredictable threats a person faced. Early humans lived in small, mobile groups, which actually worked in their favor for a while. Infectious diseases couldn't take hold the same way in a band of 20 or 30 people. Injuries got infected. Parasites were everywhere, in water, in food, in the soil. So what did you actually do as an early human when you or someone in your group got sick? Chimpanzees have been observed eating specific plants with medicinal properties when they're sick, plants they otherwise avoid when healthy. Over time, that trial and error built into something real, an enormous, detailed body of plant-based knowledge. This wasn't guesswork every single time. It was accumulated, tested, remembered knowledge, held largely by specific respected members of the group. Archaeological evidence backs this up further back than you might expect. A Neanderthal burial site in Iraq has led some researchers to argue Neanderthals used medicinal plants. Dental plaque analysis on Neanderthal remains has directly identified plant compounds with painkilling and antibiotic properties in their diet, including one individual with a dental abscess. But even with all of that accumulated plant knowledge, early humans had no concept of germs, no concept of infection spreading invisibly from person to person. Across countless early human cultures, illness was often explained through spiritual or supernatural frameworks, an angered spirit, a violated taboo. This wasn't ignorance, it was a genuinely reasonable attempt to explain a real, terrifying phenomenon with the only tools available: observation, pattern, and belief. This is where the role of a healer, shaman, or medicine person becomes so important, combining real herbal knowledge and spiritual or ritual practice. A treatment might involve a specific plant remedy alongside a ritual chant or ceremony, treating the whole visible and invisible problem at once. There's strong anthropological argument that early human groups practiced forms of isolation for the severely sick, moving a person to a separate space. Groups that happen to isolate the sick, even without understanding why it worked, would have had a survival advantage over groups that didn't. A rough, instinctive version of quarantine may be far older than the germ theory that eventually explained why it worked at all. Without antibiotics, sterile wound care, or any understanding of infection, something as small as a deep cut carried a real risk of death through infection alone. Childbirth carried enormous risk for the same underlying reason. This is part of why average early human lifespans look so low in the historical record, not because adults typically dropped dead in their 30s, but because a meaningful percentage of children didn't survive. Someone who survived childhood illness could often go on to live into what we'd now recognize as a genuine old age. Early humans facing illness were not helpless. They observed, tested, and passed down real medicinal knowledge, some of it verified by direct archaeological evidence. They developed social behaviors, like isolating the severely sick, that anticipated the logic of modern quarantine long before anyone understood why it worked. They built entire spiritual and ritual frameworks to make sense of an enemy they could never actually see. What they were missing wasn't intelligence or effort. It was one specific piece of information, that some of their worst enemies were smaller than anything the human eye could ever detect. The next time you take a pill that specifically targets a bacteria or virus you can't see, and confidently expect to feel better in a few days, that confidence is built on a piece of knowledge that took our species the entire span of its existence, minus about the last 150 years, to finally uncover.